It's the Jimmy Doane Show, everybody. That is us. This is that show. And it's live, as you can probably tell. So we do this twice a week these days, Sundays and Wednesdays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. You can join us right here. And then I'll post a timestamp copy, all the subjects marked, up on YouTube and Twitter shortly hereafter. And also you can find us on audio, in audio format around the web. So do that, share if you like. Today is the 27th day of October 2019. I am in the California studio with Dr. Doane is over in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So what's happening?
Well, a couple of things.
Today.
It's interesting. Yeah, lots of things. Mm-hmm. One thing, you were dead right on the money. Diamond, you were. Now, I will say, you thought that Felicity was going to be released before last weekend.
Yes, I did.
But they
pretty close.
They're pretty close. They cut it short. Mm-hmm. You know, time served, mm-hmm. And of course, you know what the excuse was.
No, what was it?
Here's the excuse. It says here she was serving. She served 11 days out of the 14. And she got out 2 days early.
Yeah,
3 days, whatever. The prison released her before the weekend, following a federal prison policy that can be applied to inmates whose release date falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or a legal holiday. Her departure is not considered early release for good behavior. So apparently, if your release day is
it's the weekend.
It's a weekend. Bye bye.
Yeah, exactly.
So
usually they cut them loose for overcrowding. That's the big thing. But anyway, she's out. She's done. And now poor Lori Loughlin is like, oh my God! And did you see they ramped up the charges on her as well?
No.
Yeah, they doubled down. They impaneled a grand jury, and now they charge her.
Why hers are so much better or worse than this?
Because she didn't give up quick.
Ooh,
this is all about giving up fast.
Okay.
So this is, really? Oh, you want to fight? Well, you'll see how.
That's right. Now we're going to get out the scimitar and the swords and the guns.
Exactly.
Before it was the rubber band.
Exactly. Going to plink you in the eye, and now it's fillet ya. So they've charged her with fraud now. I mean, real crimes.
Yeah.
And of course, this is bamboozling your way into college for your daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, no, that's right.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, the big news, of course.
Yes.
The big news du jour, as you would know. Last night, about 10 o'clock or something flashed across my thing and said, big news tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
the Trumpster is going to have the news of the century. Don't fail to tune into your local news at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, because at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're going to have big news. Don't forget, 9 o'clock.
Things are heating up in impeachment, so I'm going to start a war.
So I'm going to start a war, whatever it is. Well, of course, I'm reading this to try and get some hint as to what the big news was about. And about half of them were saying he's going to resign.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Like he would announce that.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, it was just, bye-bye. It's good.
Amazing, the two movies that are going on right now.
Yeah.
I mean, did you catch McLaughlin Group this weekend?
Yes, I did. I forgot what it was all about.
Well, the big thing is that they were watching two different movies entirely. You got Pat Buchanan on the one side and Eleanor
on the other, yeah.
And they're literally talking about the exact same facts. And in one scenario, it's all bad against Trump, and in the other scenario, it's all bad against the intelligence agencies or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just really, you guys. I mean, they can't even see the eye to eye and nothing there. It's just not even close.
No, well, it's
either everybody on one side is a criminal, needs to go to prison for the rest of their life, or everybody on the other side needs to go to prison for the rest of their life. It's like, can't you guys see that it's over the top here?
Yeah, no, they don't. This is what what's his name? Scott Adams talks about the two movies all the time.
Man, that was a stark one today. I mean, the fact that people are calling for prison and things like that. for the other side.
Yeah.
And it's so clear to them and so obvious on.
Of course, it's always been that way. And lock her up was one of the big cries.
I know, but nobody was really thinking about locking her up. I mean, it's
I know.
Not even the most rabid Republican, I would think, was really considering. You're really going to put the former Secretary of State and Senator and whatever in prison for mishandling some emails? I mean, it's just, and again, when you get into the technicalities, whenever they have to explain why something is deadly criminal, to me, flags start just flying right away. Like, oh, let me tell you why this is a death penalty offense. Well, if I can't tell right away.
Yeah, I've always said that. That's the way it is. When I watch Shark Tank or some of the other things, and it's like the way the movies, they pitch something. You know, if you can't get it out in 2 sentences, but, you know, something's wrong here.
It's over, yeah.
You can't do that. Well, at any rate, the big news was that the ISIS leader is dead. And apparently they sent in, it says here, the guy, it's Baghdadi, which I thought was a great name.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, Baghdadi, it's like a band or something.
No, it's perfect.
A rapper.
Yeah.
You know, Baghdadi, you know. And anyway, Syrian, in his Syrian lair, as he detonated his own suicide vest, and apparently the way they tell it is the doggy was in there chasing him down the tunnel.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and the dog of all the people that were injured was the dog.
Oh man.
So what happened was apparently he ran to a dead end tunnel. This is, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
Nobody's seen this.
I know.
Blah blah
and
blah.
Crying and he's whimpering.
Yeah,
It's like, come on. It's all from morality.
Yeah, he's whimpering. He pulls the plug.
Yeah,
No, I'm sorry.
sure.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
That's what he did. So anyway. He did, and of course this was supposed to be as big as Osama bin Laden, I guess. I mean, you know, I looked at it and I thought, you know, I've seen this before.
Well, like, what has ISIS done to us, really? I mean, they fought us over in Syria, or what?
Yeah, I mean, the whole deal was this is a guy that was the mastermind behind a whole lot of stuff. He'd been in hiding for years, off and on for years. But apparently the current administration considered him at least as dangerous as Osama bin Laden, who, of course, his minions took down the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, not quite the same. But anyway, our strong and effective operations. This was the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces.
Really?
Yes, it was the SDF. Said on Saturday they had worked with the U.S. on a successful operation against the Islamic State. And our strong and effective operations once again confirm our strength and determination to go after the Islamic State, said the head of SDF's media office. He had a $25 million bounty on his head. Who gets it? Anybody? The dog?
The dog, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So anyway, he'd been kind of hiding out, you know, kind of like Osama bin Laden. Sure. He was hiding out and everything. Sporadic audio recordings and so forth. So they had called on. They wanted to release.
So now it's over.
Now it's over. Right, now we're done. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported an attack was carried out by a squadron of 8 helicopters accompanied by a warplane. I mean, they sent in. When I say send in the Marines,
the big guns,
not the Marine, but this was big guns.
Yeah,
they went in. Apparently, they killed a lot of people, but they saved the women. Oh, he took 2 of his kids with him.
Okay.
He went down to the end of the tunnel and was standing there with his kids. And apparently, what they said was, "We saved all the women and children, well, except for his, you know, because he took them."
Yeah.
So anyway, it reminded me a little bit. There are 2 things here. I'm going to dovetail off. It reminded me a little bit of the big stories. This was last night. Don't go to sleep. You know, make sure you set your alarm for 9 o'clock. Turned out it didn't come out to about 9:20, but that's okay. You know, that's what they do. They had a lot of introductory stuff while the talking heads were, you know, trying to figure out what was going to. Now, apparently, they had a slight. Maybe they got a wind of it about an hour ahead of time of what had gone on. So they were talking about that, but it reminded me a little bit of Rachael Maddow. Because 2 things here, I'm going to dovetail into something else. this was a couple of years ago, and she claimed to have gotten some Trump tax returns. And what
Right,
about,
yeah.
about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, watch Rachael Maddow tonight.
Here it is.
Here it is. Blah blah blah. Well, and about every 10 minutes they have watch Rachael tonight. Watch her. So
These
you tune
papers.
in. You turn into Rachel at whatever time, 9 o'clock, whatever time her show comes on, and she said, "And we got breaking news." Blah blah. And it kept going on. And now when we come back, we're going to talk about blah blah blah. They come back, they talk about it, and now we're really I'll tell you. And it must have been it was the biggest lead-in. About 3 minutes before the end of the show, she says, and what we have are 2 pages of his 2005 tax returns, the front 2 pages that say he made this and he paid this, and that's all for tonight.
Right.
Everybody's going, what, are you kidding me? I spent the whole day, this kind of thing. And now this was a little more substantive than that. I mean, they did get the guy and everything like that, but still, I was thinking, when you talk about the really big news, I don't know. I didn't think it was all that big, except for the fact, if ISIS is now finally finished, done, let's get out now.
Right. Well, that's the implication is sort of, okay, well, maybe the whole Kurd withdrawal of our troops from the border area was the right move, or I don't know. I saw the counter argument, which was, of course, this was all precipitated by the opposite of that. It was so, well, okay, who knows? I mean, from my perspective, still, anybody who complains about us withdrawing from the area has to remember the Turkeys are a NATO ally, and if they get attacked, technically we're supposed to be on their side. So you can't.
And there's Kurds that aren't our allies too.
Right.
There's the unfriendly
the communist
Kurds.
Kurds.
There's millions of them over there. I mean, they're not all our buddies.
No.
So anyway, the 25 million. Yeah. Okay. Now, continuing on. In California, nearly 50,000 people are ordered to evacuate. And
really? 50,000?
50,000 have been ordered mandatory evacuation as PG&E will cut power to more than 3 million people over a historic wind event as 9 fires burn across California. And the company admits it may have sparked the devastating blazes. Now, I think I mentioned this in the last show. People don't quite understand. These are not your telephone pole that fell down, like in a hurricane. These are the big ones that are 200 feet tall that hold those big 400,000 volt power lines.
Okay.
That's what falls down.
Well, I heard that what happens is brush blows into them.
Right. Well, whatever it is,
and
exactly.
then it blows off of them, and then it's
you'd think
fiery
about it.
brush.
When you think about it, when you see these big robot-y looking things up there, okay, and they've got the wires are running down there, and they're like, and the insulators, are this big.
Yeah.
And of course, and the reason the insulators are there is so that they're to insulate the positive from the negative, or whatever, or the alternating from the unalternating, or whatever it is. Well, of course, if you get a tree branch across there or something, guess what? It shorts out.
Yeah, and the place is covered in tumbleweeds. I mean, it's plants designed to move in the wind.
That's right.
And stuff, and it's all super dry. It's a desert. And I heard one Twitter person say, look, we've had the Santa Ana winds here for decades.
Right.
The problem is...
Before we got here.
Well, right. And, yeah, exactly. and the problem is that now they've built a bunch of houses in that area.
Right.
So it's
you got to ask yourself when you're going out there and getting ready to build your house, look at this lovely forest all around, the shading of the house. And guess what? This is called Burn City is what this is. I'll tell you. Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
it's amazing to me that California is in this situation. I can't believe that...
It's all about the weather. It's great weather.
Well, but to me, it's about the lack of competition in the power industry.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, and of course the thing about it, even though it's a private company, it's really not.
No, it's not. It's so heavily regulated. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
if it was really,
it's a public-private partnership at best.
And of course, every time I say,
public.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You got to realize that when one of your partners has a gun and you don't,
guess who's in charge?
Yeah, guess who's in charge? That's right. I don't.
Yeah. Well, they need to get Elon out there to put up the Y-tricity or something because. They're gonna have a problem. People are not living in California for 10 years with no power. It's just not happening.
No. Of course not. And No, I mean, this is called back to the caveman days or something like that. You're out there with your little, and of course that's all you have to do is you're gonna be out there living off the land kind of thing, and the first thing you want to do is to build a fire.
Sure, why not? It gets cold in the desert at night.
That's right. To keep warm or something like that. Okay, next, moving. I was gonna dovetail into Rachel.
Okay.
Before I go on here. She did something that was totally unexpected. Rachel, I stopped watching Rachel. I used to watch her a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean I did because I wanted to know what the lefties were thinking, and she is really a certified lefty person.
No.
Oh yeah. And she, everything that happened, and she made her bones, so to speak, on Russia. I mean, every night it was Russia.
Yeah.
For a year and a half, 2 years and a half, whatever it was. I mean, breaking news, Russia. Every night I just said...
Bombshell.
Bombshell. This is, as we were getting ready to go on the air, breaking news. This is every night.
I remember, that I do remember breaking news.
God, breaking news.
Even then, what's her name? Megyn Kelly was the same way. Breaking news.
Yeah. So
it's really?
Yeah, right. And I mean, so anyway, she's on MSNBC, which is owned by NBC.
Yes.
MSNBC, what is that? Microsoft? NBC? Is that?
No, what is it? I used to think that too.
Microsoft is not in on that NBC?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, what she did is interesting. I raced through the whole show. The last 20 minutes of her show on Friday, she laid out in excruciating detail about the NBC executives' cover-up of the harassment, if you want to call it that, of the the women, Matt Lauer and the other,
the whole Me Too thing.
The whole Me Too thing, right? So anyway, they've been accused. And of course, what happened was this guy's book, Ronan Farrow.
Yeah.
He wrote a book, and apparently he already won a Pulitzer Prize for something similar to this earlier.
Yeah, the big article that they published in the New Yorker was
right. That was the first hint. Well, anyway, now he's got this book out. And it's, if somebody was telling me that I haven't seen it, but it's apparently extremely well documented. I mean, this guy left no stone unturned, apparently. Well, needless to say, right away, all the NBC executives came out and said, this is bullshit. It's all pile crap. You can't find anybody like this. And of course, it was all about the NDAs.
Right.
The non-disclosure agreements that supposedly, when you paid off these ladies, that they had to sign, says, I'm not going to talk about it. Well, now, interestingly, so anyway, she interviews this guy Ronan, and he goes through in pretty great detail about why and how this stuff is all. I've got it, it's backed up 3 different ways from Sunday, and they can't get out of this. Well, and she is reporting on her own bosses.
Yeah.
What a bunch of creeps they are. Well, boy, I'll tell you, as somebody was saying, there's ways to get fired, and but she's a multi-million-dollar. I mean, it's not going to be easy to fire her. Oh, they did fire Matt Lauer.
Yeah.
And so, but
of course, she's just calling them out on it. So
right. Well, she's calling them out, right? Yeah. So who knows? But at any rate, she called them out pretty heavily, which you wouldn't expect in a way. I mean, her bosses. This is she talking about here.
Yeah, I'm with you. And of course, the story's already broken. All she's doing is saying, what that guy said.
Pretty much. What has happened, interestingly enough, is that the NBC execs have buckled, to some extent, is my understanding, and said, we release all those people from their NDAs. There was nothing in the NDA that said they couldn't talk. I'm saying, wait a minute. It's called an NDA for a reason, non-disclosure agreement. And of course, what they're saying is, no, they can talk all they want. Of course,
sure,
I would imagine.
We'll sue them, but they can talk.
Right. Well, this is the thing: is I certainly before I opened my Yap, I'd be hiring an attorney.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know what they'll do. Like you said, I don't think they'll fire her. But I'll tell you what the new MO is. What you do is you just marginalize her. You say, hey, you know what? We're going to promote you. You got a new spot. It starts at 3 a.m.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And it goes for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic. Mm-hmm. And so get ready for that.
Well,
19 minutes of ads.
That's right. That's right. 19 minutes of ads. That's right. You're going to get to. It's going to be like the Home Shopping Network.
Yeah, it's like Twitter these days. Ever since the Twitter change, I feel like they've separated people out.
Oh yeah.
Intentionally. Yeah, it's weird how like somebody I'll comment on somebody's comment, and then somebody will comment on my comment, and I'll go to look and see what it was they were commenting on. I can't find it.
Really?
Yeah, I can find their comment now, but the path back up to my comment is gone, and
I didn't know.
And then there's weird things like that. Like you'll see a thing, and it'll have a bunch of likes, and then you'll click on it, and there'll be 0 comments, 0 likes, and 0 retweets, as if it's a brand new field somewhere in the matrix. And it's like
Matrix.
Well, it's like, okay, so now I'm commenting on something that nobody has seen. It's like just a mirror image of the exact same thing. I think I'm commenting on something that everybody else commented on because it has a bunch of likes in this field, but then over here there's no likes on it. So it just seems like they've created mirror image stuff to sort of draw people into the ether.
Another dimension.
Huh?
That's another dimension.
Yeah, well,
Going
it's
into
just
space.
Yeah,
Dimension.
sure. Oh, sure. You're commenting. Look at this news story.
Yeah.
And then it just goes nowhere. And so I don't know, but that's what it feels like.
It is. Well, you say that, but I mean, sometimes on the side of mine, it'll say, "Do you want to follow this link?" And then they'll all pop down.
Well, they do pop down, but I'm telling you, it changes. It's like it's not the same. It's not the same list anymore. It's something different. It's a little bit different. I'm telling you, that's what it feels like to me. When I look around, when I click around, it feels like I'm going to empty holes. Like I said, because I'll see an image with a whole bunch of likes, and then I'll click on it, and then I'll go to a page, and there'll be there's the image again, and then you look at the likes, and there's none, 0. So it's like, what is happening here? I mean, am I in my own space, or I don't know.
I wouldn't doubt it. You've always had your own space here, at any rate, because you've been.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I got flagged because we're conservative or something, or we said something.
Conservative? What are you talking about?
No, well, there's a lot of super liberal things we say, but the problem is that if we
I'm
say
promoting Rachel,
and if you say one conservative thing, I mean, they got Joe Rogan on the alt-right list. I mean, this is a guy who wants universal basic income and free healthcare and free education, and he's on the alt-right list. Like, come on, man. I mean, the definitions are just
well, they are, and of course that's what as we've talked about before with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Can actually talk about the pot calling the kettle black. They're unbelievable, and to think that they are cited very often as well. According to the SPLC, this is a hate crime. But going, you got to be kidding.
Well, that probably means it's a decent organization.
Right.
It's really,
that's
you just have to reverse it in your head these days.
Now they're going to move on here.
Okay.
The other thing that's the other kind of big news, which we'll have to follow up from time to time, has to do with Brexit. Apparently, Brexit is off.
Yeah.
I mean,
they forced a delay.
I saw this guy. I should have sent you his picture over. The Chancellor Jahid David, whoever he is, I don't know. He's some kind of. He's a Pakistani or foreign. Weird. I mean, he looks like the guy in the Munsters with the round head and the eyes like them. He's a weird looking duck. But anyway, he told the BBC the UK will not be able to leave the EU on Halloween. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, that guy Halloween, boy, that really adds up to me. There's something going on here because of the actions of Parliament. The Prime Minister now, Boris, has said that he would rather be found dead in a ditch than preside over a delay. But it looks like it's going to happen anyway. So, in an interview today, Mr. Javid admitted we have to accept that we will not be able to leave on the 31st. A dramatic showdown in the House of Commons last week saw the MPs, the members of Parliament, force the Prime Minister, Boris, to send a letter to Brussels asking for a 3-month delay. In response, the Prime Minister is now calling for a general election on December 12th. Well, apparently that's not as easy. He said, this what do they call them? The strike, instantaneous election that they have over there, a snap election. I guess he can't, I don't know if you can do it or not. But anyway, I didn't realize this, but apparently in order to have an election, you have to, a majority, and let's see how many it has to be, you have to have 2/3 of the MPs vote to have an election. I didn't know that. If it's not the regular time.
Right.
So anyway, The move by the Tory leader, that is to say Boris, comes as EU 27, that's to say 27 different countries, mull over request to grant a fresh delay to Brexit until the end of January 2020. So the deal is this. Now they had to request a 3-month delay to leave Brexit, but they have to get permission from the EU to leave instead of just marching out the door. I mean, this is, one of the things that I've always said is the ultimate freedom is the freedom to leave.
Yeah. And no, you're not getting away,
man. Not getting away that way, no.
Yeah, they're trying to put the kibosh on the whole thing.
They really are, and it's kind of like here in this country where we have the deep state. That there's some people that are really unhappy with the election, and they're pulling out all the stops. And of course, you talk about revelations coming out almost every day with this guy, our new AG or whatever, Attorney General.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like you said, this is so weird that people are turning this into just witch hunts all the way around. So what happened this week, of course, was the Attorney General came out and announced that the investigation into the investigation is now a criminal investigation.
Criminal investigation.
Right.
And I'll tell you, now when I saw that, the first thing I was thinking is, here's a guy that's going to dig into some stuff that probably some people don't want it uncovered.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I certainly would be I would want to have an ankle thing on the Clintons.
Well,
to know where they are.
And how about the Obamas? I mean,
right, yeah.
Interestingly, I mean, this all happened under his administration.
That's true.
But those are the people who are going to be so upset that they're going to try to quash this. And people have already come out and said AG Barr is a Russian agent.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just like, come on, man. I mean, look, I didn't think the investigation was going to happen. I said that from day one. I said, it doesn't happen. It never happens.
Right.
Unless, and there's one exception, and that is when they clean house at the top level. You'll see, for example, every once in a while, you'll see a corrupt police station will get a new captain. Okay. And all of a sudden, they'll do an investigation of the police department, and they'll clean house. They'll kick out a bunch of people or arrest a few or whatever.
Well, this guy, of course, this guy Barr is the new captain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's been just enough change at the top for there to be a valid investigation. Of course, Comey's gone, McCabe's gone, all those people are gone, so they can't protect themselves anymore from the inside.
Well, Comey said, of course, he's moving to New Zealand.
Yeah, sure. They all say that.
Yeah, they all say that. Well, it
sounded like a joke.
No Canada for him, but New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet from New Zealand said, "What the fuck did we do?"
What did we do to deserve this?
That's right. But it's just this is so interesting, the countervailing investigations, and I personally, the only thing I can think of they're going to ever come up with is whoever ordered the certification of the documents to the FISA court.
Yeah.
Is to me the person that shouldn't go down, because somebody had to sign off on the facts to the FISA court in order to make it a criminal investigation with the FISA court. And when you do that, you have to certify that the facts that you're putting down in the paper are in fact true to the best of your knowledge.
To the best of your knowledge.
Well, but that's actually a weird thing. There's two different ways. There's to the best of your knowledge, and then there's upon information and belief, which is which is you're saying that you know and you believe it, and there are slightly different standards. I think it falls under the looser one, which could give them a little wiggle room, like that's what we thought happened, but that there's all those questions about the Steele dossier, about whether or not even Steele himself considered the facts inside of it to be valid. And so the fact that some United States officials would approach the FISA court with that document as proof, to me, is suspicious. Personally, I think it all comes down to McCabe. I think it's McCabe. I think he was pissed off about the wife comment, and I think he initiated it and put the whole thing in motion on purpose, and he was very serious about it, but it was just a bunch of bull crap. And so,
some of the people they're going to call, are they going to call Papadopoulos and some other people in on?
Well, the big one is, I don't know who they're going to call for that investigation. I mean, it's got to go back through the same people, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But then there's the counter investigation, which is apparently Rudy Giuliani is going to get indicted.
Right. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. And you know, it's funny because we've been saying for years. I was looking for instance the other day, this morning actually. I was looking through Trump's tweets, and there were like 50 of them right in a row. You know, just and so. But Rudy, you know, shut up.
Yeah, Rudy. He's a horrible. He's a horrible witness for himself or a testifier for anybody. He's a prosecutor, and he has big fat mouth and he's just barreling into this stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if Rudy seals his own grave in this whole thing. If they get Rudy in front of a committee, he is not going to do the Oliver North thing and say, I don't recall that, I don't recall that, I don't recall that, and sit there and talk to his lawyer every single time. He's going to blurt stuff out like he did to Chris Cuomo. Yeah. And he's going to bury at least himself, I think, if they get him in front of the people.
And, you know, and of course, what happens is all of this muddies the waters for
That's what I'm saying.
For the general population.
Yes.
I mean, there. I am sure that there are literally hundreds of millions of eyes that are just glazing over.
Totally. And what you got to ask yourself, if you're on the outside, is do we still have a government, or is it really run by some deep state group at this point? Because if you can elect a president, and then the entire time that the person is president, they're going to go after him for criminal investigations one after another, and if they get him, if they actually get him, if they impeach and remove, let's say, or it would just be, it would be a remarkable turn of events, and I think it would totally.
That would be I look at it this way: when you read the history of the Roman Empire,
oh sure,
and that the kind of stuff that went on, this is all condensed.
I think of the Italian Renaissance, when what you do is you walk in there with your rapiers and you kill the king and the queen and whatever, and then you just sit on the throne and that's it, and you're there, and because your guys took over, and that's what we seem to be approaching very fast.
Well, it's interesting because I suppose some people are going to have to read The Prince. That gives you the justification for that, because that is one of the great Machiavelli. If you haven't read that, you really need to, because that tells you what he lays it all out there.
That's what's happening.
What you're supposed to do.
Yes,
and that is you take them all out, even your friends.
That's and so and that's what it looks like is happening up there in the capital at this point.
Oh my God. Okay, well, let me just a couple of little things here. Moving along, I've talked here. At our, I didn't realize this, but down here at our meetings, our city commission has gone off the deep end. I mean, you talk about people that have decided to rule this county, and it's just insanity. Well, one of the things they did was if you want to clap, you have to go this.
No way.
Yes. They call it the jazz wave, I think, or something like that. But what you do is you hold your hands up and you go like this, because people were, when somebody would say something that was against the city commission, people would say, and they'd clap and everything. And okay, that's enough. Bang, bang, order in the court, and the whole deal. And so from now on, they banned clapping or any kind of outburst, anything like that. And they will, and basically when people do an outburst, they escort them out. They have a sheriff, somebody that's armed, get them out of the hall. So now it turns out that clapping at Oxford University has been banned, clapping, and so you have to use this also. And the ostensible reason, now not here. Here it's because you disturb the meeting, the normal comedy. And I don't mean comedy, but I mean comedy. Of the meeting and so forth, because we're all grown ups and blah blah blah. Well, of course I'm concerned if you can't make your wishes known to these people on some level, then I mean as far as I'm concerned, they ought to have it more like the British Parliament. Where you sit there and say, "Hell no!" But no, they're not going to have that. So what I'm saying is that they are talking about the problem is with clapping. It's a trigger. It's a trigger for people with autism. They said, Peter Fraser, it's up to help autistic people who have a sensory sensitivity. At work, an autistic person, you have the right to reasonable adjustments, which might mean a quiet space to work. Not pathetic at all, unless you'd rather autistic people not get an education or a job.
Well, here's the problem. You can't pass laws for very, very, very small percentages of the population. You can't do it. You have to pass laws for the way people generally
I
are.
identify as being autistic.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's the trouble that we're getting into. Some people have this concept, and it's a natural inclination because everybody who has a child knows there are some people you have to protect, namely the children. Okay, but here's the thing. If they get to be adults, you stop protecting them. You have to. That's part of the deal also. So so now you have we're going to not clap because 1 out of 1,000 people might be triggered. Might be not that they don't know already that they can't go to an event like that, right? Of course they do. If you're triggered by clapping, you don't go to the game.
But then you're out of it.
Well, that's exactly right.
See,
That's exactly right. You are excluded.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah.
If you're an adult American, nobody owes you anything.
It's one thing if you're under 18 or whatever
Right.
you want to call it. And you're protected. Your parents, they make sure you don't have peanuts.
There you go.
Okay. But once you get past, when you're 19, that's when you ask. If there's
Exactly,
peanuts in there.
exactly, and that's exactly right. And the responsibility shifts, and now we see things like this. This has come out. You talk about it with the identification things. We saw this week a couple of new trans athlete stories.
Yes.
Where-
I don't think I put those down in here, but there was a girl who was in this thing, and she's whining, of course, as you would expect. She was pretty high up, and then these two people came and bumped her out and set records and everything else. And she was saying, this is not fair. And of course, life is not fair, blah blah blah. But still, you got to ask yourself. Scott Adams thinks that you ought to just ash can everything, but I think he's wrong on that.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're a girl, and we know that the muscle mass of the testosterone enhanced people. Well, I took the shots for a year to eliminate my testosterone.
Yeah,
No,
you're still 4 times what the girls are or something.
Yes,
Look, here's what it comes down to. It's the freedom to establish whatever league that you want. When you open up a league for
a league
women,
of their own.
Well, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. A league of their own. And
you notice they didn't have any guys in that league?
There you go. You know what? And you know how many guys complained? 0. None.
But I'll tell you, with what's her name in there, I would have wanted to have been one of the guys.
Well, sure. and of course today there would be one person.
One guy. He would identify as a girl.
That's right.
And get to play on the team.
There you go.
That's right.
But this is insanity because this is the same thing as allowing somebody who's aged out of the league to come back and play. What?
Yeah.
You're 23 now. You want to play Little League?
Yeah.
No. And look, and it comes down to hurt feelings versus hurt bodies. Okay.
Yeah.
You have, like, for example, the women's rugby teams are now being infiltrated by men claiming to be women. Okay. And you read the stories, and they're like, this one was like, this guy, the bigger girl folded the other girl like a deck chair.
Yeah.
Just go bam out, and you look around and you think, okay, look, we don't want to hurt the trans person's feelings, but we don't want to hurt the girls' bodies.
Yeah.
It's a difference between broken bones and hurt feelings. It's like, look, get over it. You're out, okay? You're excluded. That's it. And they're going to have their own league, and that's what's fair. And if you don't like it, too bad. And you go start your own league.
Go
Trans league. Go ahead.
Speaking of trans, I guess you did see the Brazilian wax thing, right?
Yeah. That was old. That was a while.
Oh, that was a while. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so anyway, that's England. Of course, that's at Oxford. Never happened here except downtown Gainesville.
Yeah, except for the government. I don't mind if a school does it. If you're a school, do whatever you want. Like Antioch College had that situation where you had, if you wanted to touch a girl, you had to ask them at every stage.
Oh, yeah,
like,
right.
oh, can I touch your shoulder? May I kiss you? Can I do this? And like, come on, it's ridiculous. But you're a school, so people can decide. Okay, that's fine. You're a private institution, whatever it is. But for the government, you can't clap, you can't make noise. It's getting weird.
Well, you get and unfortunately you get escorted out literally at the point of a gun.
Yeah,
that's bad. Okay, well now on to Biden.
Okay.
We've talked a little bit about this, but it does look like he might be sinking.
Yeah.
And the reason is apparently he's run out of money.
What happens when you...
He has begged, his big guy has begged the donors to, quote, dig deep. as staffers sleep on couches and his war chest sinks below Buttigieg's and what they're complaining about is he spent apparently almost $1 million on private jets as they go all over the place to their
we
meetings.
did this last time.
Yeah. So anyway, it turns out that staff are sleeping in the homes of volunteers to cut costs, even as donors express fury over the jets. What I thought was interesting was, as of September, Biden's campaign had $9 million in cash on hand, far less than Sanders with 33 million, and Elizabeth Warren with 25 million, and even Buttigieg had 23 million. And Kamala Harris had over 10 million. So these are people that, what if the big donors are starting to flee. Now they did for the November debates, I think they have raised the bar a little bit more, and they've also announced for the debates on the number of donors and the number of independent people, whatever it is, and the amount of money and so forth, percentages and all this kind of stuff. And I think they've also started to look at the December debates as well as to what it's going to take to stay in. And it does look like the Democratic National Committee is getting ready to is thinning out the field. And of course the one that's upset, of course, is Tulsi, because she apparently, according to her metric, has pretty much succeeded or so forth. And she's, what was it she said, that it's either Facebook or Twitter, somebody had shadow banned her or something someplace.
Google, yeah.
It's Google, right.
Yeah, YouTube. But, well,
so anyway, we'll see. I don't know when is the debate? Probably the middle of November.
I don't know. I didn't check.
I haven't looked yet.
I'm still waiting for Hillary to come on in.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Well, we missed that by a week or two at least so far. I mean, that's
she's missing her opportunity. Well, maybe she's waiting for the day that Biden drops out. Which would be a good day.
Yeah, that's right.
Because then you'd swoop in and get all those people right then.
There you go. Hopefully. That's right. Because she'd be comparatively moderate.
Right.
She could suck up a lot of his stuff.
Yeah. She'd be a way better front runner than he is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let me just go through here. A couple of things I got. Let me just think now. I got egg prices. Got some work on Bernie. I'll come back to that. The U.S. Border Patrol buys 3.33 million bullets for their new Glock handgun. Apparently, what they've done is they've switched over whatever their normal
conveniently,
and they bought 33 million bullets. Now wait a minute. The parent agency of the U.S. Border Patrol has purchased 33 million rounds of ammunition for its brand new handgun, and apparently this new Glock is better underwater. I don't know what all, less rust or something. It's supposed to be a little more reliable than whatever they've been using, and as far as I'm concerned, the 1911 45 is just fine. That's nothing wrong with that. Anyway. So they've may buy more than 300 million additional rounds. Now, I'm thinking about this for a second. 300 million. That's one round for every citizen.
Yeah, exactly.
And
or 3 rounds for every Mexican.
Well, the thing that gets me is that's a lot of rounds of ammo.
It is.
I mean, what are you expecting?
Practice. To spend money. This is just a contract that this is the favor.
It's not all that much money when you come to it. Apparently, it's about 10 million for
30 million rounds.
For 30 million, yeah.
30 cents a piece. Okay.
Yeah, right. About 30 cents a piece. That's what they said. And so they expected another 5-year contract, value estimated between 80 and 100 million, which is over 5 years, which is in government money, that's not 20 million a year. For Border Patrol, whatever. But I just looked at when I looked at this. What they
suspicious number.
It seemed like
suspiciously close to the U.S. population.
Number. Yeah, right. Yeah. Could you raise that to 320 million?
Yeah, right. 326 million.
Yeah, that's right. Our transition to Glock 9mm handguns is expected. Now, Glock is that German?
I don't know which manufacturer it is. They're super popular these days.
Yeah, I know they are, but it's not U.S., huh?
I don't know.
Not an SW.
Doesn't sound like it.
Not Smith & Wesson, yeah. Is expected to ensure the safety of our officers and agents as we replace all existing in-service reserve and training handguns, as well as ensure the supply of additional weapons. So it's to ensure the safety of the people that are holding the gun.
Of course.
That's good. In Massachusetts, just see here what I got. Let me make sure I got everything. here in, okay, in Massachusetts, did we talk about calling somebody a bitch?
Yes.
We
mentioned it. Yeah.
We did that already. Okay, that's
$200.
That's for voting now. So let me go back in here and get this one. See how we're doing on time. Okay, good. There are two things. One is Bernie wants you to own. I saw this as a thing. He wants to own more of your means of business. Bernie Sanders released a proposal today that would gradually shift 20% of corporate equity funds into those controlled by the workers of each company. The plan, which would apply to all publicly traded companies, okay, and large closely held companies like Hershey's or something like that, Mars or whoever they are. Those
yeah,
they're owned, but closely held. And it moved 2% of the corporate stock into worker funds for each year of a decade. And the idea is to get it up to 20% ownership by the workers. And of course, it's interesting because the workers change and some might retire. And I don't know. Once the shares are transferred into the funds, workers would begin receiving dividends, assuming that they can get dividends, and have the ability to exercise voting rights of the shares, including the right to vote on corporate board elections.
This is...
And so this would be considered a disorderly conduction violation when used in an attempt to... No, I'm sorry, forget it. Bernie, did I have anything else on Bernie? No, I don't remember. That was... But what got me about this was the fact is that mandatory by the government is going to transfer shares in a privately held company to, quote, the workers, and they can vote and do whatever, so they get to go to the meetings and so forth. So it's going to, of course, it's going to, I guess, dilute the shares of the actual investors. In other words, if you're going to just transfer shares to, quote, a workers' co-op kind of thing, and if you're one that has actually bought shares in the company, and you're thinking, wait, why do these guys get a share? I mean, where's their money and so forth? But this is when you start to dig down on this. This is rank communism.
Yeah.
Rank
da.
And it's just I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, what are these people doing? Are they not looking at Venezuela, or even just in the recent past on other people that have had workers' paradises and have not read this stuff, and it all sounds good and the utopia and everything? Where are the utopian workers' paradises? Show me one. Just one, right, in the last 10,000 years.
Well, look, clearly they haven't done it right. This is, I love the meme going around Facebook with a whole bunch of skulls piled up on top of each other.
Yeah.
And one skull says to the other one, well, this isn't real socialism.
Yeah, right. When I look at unfortunately, I forgot to bring out the entire proposal here. I read it. But when you start to go in what else was in this thing about the universal health care and, cradle to the grave, government's going to do everything early, we're going to start to get the kids from pre-kindergarten, and you won't have to do anything. Just give us all your money and we'll take care of you, kind of thing. Because just like in Sweden, only it ain't like Sweden.
Right, no.
And so the deal is, when you talk about a fundamental change.
Right. This is all part of the fundamental change effort that you see Bernie and Warren after, and it's insanity. This is absolutely, like you said, this is Frederick Engels. This is right out of the communist playbook. Oh, power to the people, power to the worker, and they have no clue what they're doing. And you can see that from the Facebook interviews this week when they jumped on Zuckerberg. And the questions were just absolutely inane. I mean, it was remarkable how dumb some of the questions were and some of the assumptions that they would make. One of the squad members was questioning Zuckerberg, and she said, well, are you going to have to pay for... No, she said, do people have to pay for Libra, to use Libra? And he said, well, it's not actually a thing yet. We're still developing it. And she interrupts him and she's like, do people have to pay for it? And he's like, okay, again, it doesn't actually exist yet. He's like, but the plan is no. And she's like, okay, so I'm going to assume people have to pay. And it's like, look, he can't, and she's trying to pin him down on what the parameters of this new business is that hasn't been formed yet. The whole point, it's like she doesn't understand. The whole point is those things haven't been exactly worked out yet.
Yeah.
But in his mind, he's projecting this for her on purpose, and she's just denying it, just flat out. And they're going after Facebook. I hear people all the time now. I'm seeing, like Eleanor Cliff today on the McLaughlin group said, well, people on both sides of the aisle think Facebook needs to be fixed.
Yeah. How are you going to fix it again?
Well, and this is what I got in an argument on Twitter with a guy. He said, well, some people just can't understand the difference between fact and fiction. And I'm like, yeah, those are children, okay?
Right.
This goes back to the peanut thing.
Yeah.
If you can't understand what the difference between facts and fiction is, then you better not read the news. And you know that. You know you have to rely on your parents or somebody else to straighten things out.
Common sense.
Well, that's what they're saying is they don't have common sense.
Right.
And I'm like, look, that's such a small percentage of the people. You can't make a law for them. You can't. You have to assume that everybody can at least have the little flag raise up when they see this. Like there was another video this week on Twitter, which is a really good video. Did you see the Boston Dynamics video?
No.
Okay, well, so it's a fake video. But what it is it purports to be Boston Dynamics' new automatic soldier. And it's a robot.
Yes, I did see it.
It's a robot, and he's shooting the crap out of everything, and they're punching it and kicking it and whatever. Well, if you look closely, you can tell that this is not an actual robot.
Yeah.
A couple of different ways. One is the way that it moves. It moves way too much like a human, and so it's obvious that they filmed a human doing these movements, and then they flipped it over to CGI.
Right.
And then the actors blow it a couple of times. The actual people in the scene blow it.
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting on one of them when they knocked him around a little bit and he instantaneously he pulls the gun up and hits the target.
Yes.
And I'm going, wait, who does that?
Nobody. And like there's no possible way. Also, we don't have the battery technology for that robot yet.
Yeah.
There's no way that thing would run for 2 seconds and so.
How can you say that? Didn't you watch the documentary with Will Smith called I, Robot?
Right, and the Terminator. I saw that documentary too. So, but those things. My point is that very quickly the list of comments was fake. If you thought it was real for 1 second, you realize, and then they were like, look who the video was produced by, and wasn't Boston Dynamics. It was some video group. They produce videos. That's what they do. So. But the point is that you can't pass laws for that percentage of the people. You have to let everybody be exposed to the information, and then let everybody decide what's fact and fiction.
Well, not only that. I mean, who are, as we've seen so often, who are the gatekeepers? I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Are we going to have a Pravda, as we do here?
Right.
We have a local Pravda, which is the Gainesville Sun. But I mean, you look at
the only way to have one of those groups is to have some people appoint those people. In other words, you have to have deciders decide who the deciders are.
Right.
But you can't do that because you've already had deciders decide, and so it's a catch-22.
Yeah.
And so the only way around it is for everybody to get all the information and work it out for themselves. But the Democrats, the progressive Democrats right now are literally in the mindset that Facebook can fool people just by putting out a fake story, and therefore they need to be in control of Facebook and falseness. And
well, I thought it was interesting that one of the people that I forget exactly where it was, but as he's going through the ways to fix things or what, and he says, of course, the main thing, one of the seminal things was the way the Russians interfered with the 2016 election, and changed things around. We don't want to see that again. And I'm thinking, but they didn't.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you.
I mean,
all that stuff comes out. It all comes out in the wash. You got people on both sides. I'm confident.
Well, that's what people don't, is what it boils down to is people just don't trust the market. And they talk about market failures, and they're going to have a group of people, they're going to get a little cadre of people, they might get 435 of them, or 535 of them up in Washington, or they might get a majority in the Senate and the House to fix it, to get together. They'll have a committee or a subcommittee that'll say, well, this is what we need to do, and they'll talk. And then what you end up with, of course, as you see on the hearings, you get these people that are on these committees and head of the committee, and they're idiots. I mean, they have no, if you talk to somebody about a blockchain, they go, I mean, they just they have no idea.
Right.
Well, even what it is. I mean, I don't understand the in and outs of a blockchain, but I know it's not a chain with a block on it.
Right.
That much I do know.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get the questions from some of these people, that's what they're thinking. Visually, think about it. If you visually think of it, if you're a visual person and you think of a cinder block on a chain.
Right.
That's
Attached
a
to another
blockchain.
single block. Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. And you had AOC coming out this week in her support of Bernie's speech, and she said, look, what got us here, the logic that got us here will not get us out of our current situation. So we need to have a fundamental change in the way that we do things, and then that's
Well, I can kind of see that, because the logic that got us where we are is a bunch of commies.
yeah, but that's not how they look at it.
I know.
They look at it. They
And I don't-
think
I don't-
we're in pure
I'm-
capitalism, and
Yeah.
all the bad stuff that happens
And
because of pure
capitalism,
capitalism. And of course, if Trump presides over this big crash, and I think, and this is another topic actually, if Trump provides over the big crash, then God forbid, we could end up with freaking Bernie or Warren, because you could have enough independents just go, you know what, I don't know what's going on.
Well, one of the reasons that Trump got in was that kind of rebellion.
Exactly. Right.
And so, they can turn on you pretty quick.
That's right.
That's the thing. Speaking of crashes, this is the last thing I've got.
Okay.
Egg prices had an extreme drop.
Really?
Eggs have dropped. Apparently, this is what I thought was interesting. Last week, the largest egg producer in the United States issued a dire financial report. They had an extreme drop in egg. Now, I love eggs, and eggs are one of these things that literally, for 30 or 40 years that I've watched egg prices, in spite of all the inflation and everything else in the world, they pretty much stayed the same.
Well, now you can have chickens at home in a lot of places.
Well, that's true, and they have, apparently there's been a new, a lot of people want the free range chicken eggs, or chickens and chicken eggs and so forth, and apparently there's just been a glut of eggs, which is what you figure, and that's why the prices drop. That's called the market. And I noticed the other day, for instance, that I forget where it was, but a dozen eggs now are $1. Or no, nationwide, that a dozen eggs, regular eggs, are 97 cents. Now, I got a newsflash for you. That's cheap.
That's super cheap.
That is unbelievable. That when you realize what you get in an egg, and 97 cents, nobody's going to starve in this country. I'm telling you, here's what you do. You can, eat leaves off a tree for your roughage and eat eggs, and you're about done.
Yeah.
And I just thought, so they were talking about the increase in sales, and one of the things that it says, here it is, the average price sits at less than 92 cents for a dozen eggs. And the cause isn't complicated, because at its core, there are simply too many eggs, according to the USDA. And the thing that's interesting to me...
Too many.
There are too many eggs, right.
Not too many.
The thing that yeah, right. But you got to figure that the one of the things you have to ask yourself is, some of these egg producers, they the way they do it is, one conglomerate will have 50 egg farms with these long things with with 1,000 or 2,000 chickens, and they're laying eggs all the time, and the farmers have to buy their food and everything like that, and they make money because they sell the eggs to the co-op or whoever it is, the big guy, to aggro somebody or another. But boy, one of the things that you do find is that when the price gets too cheap, the quantity, it has to go down, right? Market would dictate that the prices are going to have to go up.
Well,
right now, if I was going to buy egg futures, I'd probably buy them going up.
Well, and to me, that's the way that the prices should go.
Right.
You should get some deflation should be built into the system, not the inflation that we currently have. And
well, what's interesting is when you see the things that have gone up. I mean, when I was buying hamburger meat, it was 39 cents a pound. I used to buy whole chicken for $1. Now they're $3 and $4. But eggs,
pound of bacon is almost $9 now.
No.
Yes, $8.79 for a pound of Oscar Mayer bacon, and it was $5.99 like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's up like 30%.
Well, tuna fish's gone through the ceiling too.
There's a bunch.
In the last 7 or 8 years, it's gone from like 35 cents a can to over $1.
Yeah.
For the little 5-ounce can.
And and they reduced the size of the cans. That's the other.
Right, that's the other thing. You and your Oreos.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 rows of Oreos.
Yeah, that's right. So what do you got?
Well, okay, so a couple things on the economy still. The Fed is definitely hiding something big. from my perspective. And the reason is because since the announcement in September that they were going to initiate the temporary not QE,
Right.
they have only increased every single week, or close to every week, the amounts that they're adding. And now they're back up to 60 billion permanent increase per month.
Okay.
Plus 145 billion I saw as an overnight injection.
Whoa.
Now the 145 gets paid back, so it doesn't add on to the balance sheet. But the whole point is that the liquidity is not in the market.
Right.
And they started out with like 70 billion for the overnight markets.
Right.
And now they're up to almost 150 in a month.
Because what happens what a lot of people don't realize is the banks have to settle up every day at 5 o'clock or whatever time, Eastern time. I don't know. Depending where you are, but they have to settle up. And so what happens is you have to borrow money from a bank that has excess reserves, and the one that has not enough has to negotiate a deal, and they do it some fancy way. But the interest for the overnight interest was up around 10%.
It spiked to 10% that one time, and hasn't been back up over to that high. It has been well over. It's gone up to like 4 or something since then, but. The fact is,
the way you hold it down is you have this huge injection of overnight money. At some point, that's got to come home to roost.
Exactly, that's my point. And the other point is that looking at the rate of increase of their injections, it's alarming.
Right.
It's like
exponential.
It's huge growth. So I'm once again on the bandwagon of we're not making it to the election.
Okay.
Without a big correction.
Okay.
No election without correction. That's my.
There you go. If the shiv don't fit, don't convict. Or
that's
whatever.
right. That's right. The shiv doesn't fit. But no, and so I'm of course worried that capitalism will get blamed. People are still imagining Donald Trump as some sort of conservative capitalist.
Yeah.
When he is in fact a big spending liberal, and you can see that by the deficits now almost up to $1 trillion.
Yeah,
and projected to be over that, and it just no end in sight. There's nothing, and so there's trouble in River City, as you used to say. Yeah. and we'll see how it all shakes out. Meanwhile, Schummer proposed a $462 billion car swap program.
What?
Yes.
This is not cash for clunkers.
Yes. This is a new... this is cash for your not clunker. This is cash for your gas car. Cash for your gas car to get people into electric. So he wants to spend $500 billion of just money that will just print up to buy people's cars back and to give them an incentive to get into electric vehicles. This is all for the environment. But this is what could possibly go wrong.
What possibly went wrong with the gun buyback thing? What was it, Fast and Furious?
Yeah, right.
Or the last one with the cash for clunkers.
This is cash for clunker on steroids, apparently. So interesting.
It's funny. They never learn.
No, well, of course not, because their solution is it's got to be government, some government solution. They wouldn't want to turn it over to the people, but it's interesting. All right, another real quick thing. Mexico is essentially ruled by the cartels at this point.
Okay.
They have taken over the justice system and released people that were recently arrested. And is that corporate out there?
Yeah. Excuse me, kids. There's corporates out there. She's wondering if we're going to come in. Don't panic. Well, we're finishing up.
Yeah. So anyway, it's interesting. Now look. Of course, from my perspective, all governments are ruled by cartels anyway.
Right.
It's just a group of people with the guns. Who's got the bigger guns?
That's right.
But apparently it's interesting that the actual cartels now have the bigger guns in Mexico.
Well, it's interesting because I did see where at least a couple of them were released.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. They've got a couple of cartels guys. Okay, you're served your time, bye.
And there was a shootout in the streets, and guess who won?
The cartel people.
Yeah. And so...
That's...
now... For all I know, the cartel may be a better government than the Mexico
I
government.
can tell you right now, when you say that, because I remember when Ms. Jimmy and I first went to Las Vegas in the 70s, it was still pretty much run by the mob.
Right.
And you could walk down the street with $100 bills flowing out nobody would touch you.
Yeah.
I mean, no way, Jose.
So interesting turn of events, but we'll see what happens there.
No vacation.
And then my final thing was it's kind of a light note. Did you see the Katie Hill hoopla this week? She's a Democratic. I don't know what she is. Someone in the Democratic Party, but
operative or something.
Well, I think she's a representative, possibly.
Okay.
Anyway, she may be a high-level staffer or something. Anyway, she's got staff, and a couple pictures came out of her naked. Like combing staff's hair naked in a chair, just 100% naked. No, I mean, and apparently they're real photographs. And there's another one of her like smoking a bong, naked, walking around. And for a little while there was this oh my God outrage about this. And I'm thinking, this is California. I mean, what's the big deal? They were saying, well, she's grooming these staffers to fool around with her and her husband. And I'm like, consensually, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, yeah. And they're like, well, she paid her money. I'm like, yeah, that's her employee.
Yeah.
Like the scandal would be if she didn't pay her, right?
Yeah.
Or if she
Didn't pay
forced
the
her.
minimum wage.
Well, right, yeah, or something. It was just weird because you had this crazy story about, oh my God, she's doing all these terrible things. And then you find out it's 100% consensual, no harm, nobody got hurt, nothing happened, and
Naked, huh?
Yeah.
What is this? Okay, now where is this again?
She's good looking, yeah, and
KatieHull.com.
yeah, exactly. Well, and she's demanded they take down the pictures now.
I guess.
But it was funny because Scott Adams had the right take. He's like, I think these were supposed to make me like her less. So anyway, all right, that's all.
We're out of here.
Yeah. So, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Come join us over on YouTube if you like, or on Twitter. These tracks brought to you by Kevin MacLeod. Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate it. We'll be back on Wednesday, the 30th, right before the scary Halloween holiday. I'm Council Curtis. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. We'll see you soon.
You know if there's a GMT -5?
I don't know. Well, we got to fall back on that.
No. But I understood. Somebody was telling me that the Brits also have daylight saving time.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Maybe we stay the same. I don't know.
I'll double check.
Yeah.